All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the 2021 Ladies First Forum. Tonight, we will focus on the topic, It's Our Time. Each of our guests will give insight on the moment when they knew it was their time within their career and through their personal life choices. The purpose of tonight's program is to hear from women on topics that allow us to begin to think through solutions to issues in areas of mental health, politics, social engagement, and social unrest. But first, we will have a great spoken word performance by no other than Word Societies from right here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Give it up for Miss Ellie B. And then we will have our special guest, Mayor Pro Tem DD Adams.
Good evening. As Shalee said, my name is Elena Barron. My stage name is Ellie B. And I am a member of Word Society based right out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So the piece that I'm going to do tonight is entitled, Ladies First, It's Our Time. I don't think you understand how amazing this is, how divine and creative this is. See, this is our time. We win. All the blood, sweat, and tears we put in, knowing these moments of pain would all end. And now it's our time. Ladies first, we all win. We're no longer last in the line, we begin them. No more competing with other women, we befriend them. No longer begging for a seat, not settling for crumbs. If there's money on the table, every bit we gonna eat. See, we've been sowing for far too long. Now it's harvesting time and best believe we gonna reap. No more small stepping. We're creating bigger visions. Into them we run, we leap. Timid is no longer a language that we speak. And I don't think that they understand how amazing this is, how divine and creative this is. See, this is our time. We win. All the blood, sweat, and tears we put in, knowing those moments of pain would all end. And now it's our time, ladies first, see, we win. A shift in culture has happened and stimulated our rise to power. Some will say we stole it, but this is just how things unfold when women feel empowered. Speaking when we have something to say, not just when spoken to. Recognizing that our voice adds value and can be loud and commanding too. Yes, we birth nations, but we birth visions too. Yes, we've been held back, but we've always known how to push through. With a resounding resiliency, redefining what it means to be a lady while creating a legacy. Now, do you understand how amazing this is? How divine and creative this is? See, this is our time, we win. All the blood, sweat, and tears we put in, knowing those moments of pain would all end, and now it's our time. Ladies first, we all win. Thank you.
If we could do a virtual hand clap for everyone, let me hear you, let me hear you. Okay, the little snaps. Okay, we do what we can do. You can also make sure to drop your comments in our chat for Facebook or for YouTube. So anything you drop, we can pull up your actual comments on this show live because we can't hear you. So we just have to see your comments. So Ellie, before you go, I want to ask you a couple questions.
All right.
If you don't mind, first, let us know a little more about you. I know a lot about you, but there's some new fans, so let them know a little bit more about you.
All right. So my name is Elena Barron. I am a spoken word artist. Have been doing poetry in Winston since probably about 2017. My husband and I, we co-produce the Word of Mouth Wednesdays experience that takes place at the Ramcat. We've been on hold due to COVID, but we will be back in May, so stay on the lookout for that. But yeah, just I stay involved in the community. I try to do as much as I can. I work at the Keenan Institute for the Arts, which is affiliated with UNC School of the Arts. So I'm an arts administrator as well. And yeah, that's who I am. I'm a mother and a wife.
So speaking of that, as an artist, a wife, a mother, an entrepreneur, and so much more, what was the moment or what moment did you stop and realize it was your time? I mean, there are a lot of different things that you have been able to do just in this 15 years of your life because you're so young. That's right. But let us know what was the moment that you knew it was your time.
Honestly, I would really like to say it happened this year for me. Well, not really 2021, but in this last year. So when COVID hit, I had just had a second child right before COVID came, and to suddenly be placed in a situation where I was at home, I went from being like a performer. I don't want to say like a part-time mom, but I mean, I was working a full-time job and performing on a regular basis. So being a mom, it wasn't on the back burner, but it wasn't something that took up 95% of my time. And so when COVID hit, here I am in the house all the time. And I realized like I started to go through what I identified as like postpartum depression, just delayed. And I started to really just beat up on myself and feel like I was not doing what I was meant to do. And I was starting to feel a little trapped. And I never wanted to be in a space where my household, my family situation made me feel trapped. And so I said, you know what? There's no reason that I should feel trapped. This is my season to be a mom. But at the same time, there's no reason why it can't be my season to be me as well. And whatever that looks like for me. And so I decided, you know what? Once the kids go to sleep, I just need to be more intentional about what I do with my time and making sure that I figure out how to get me time in, whatever that looks like, whenever I can. And, you know, it's my time to just focus on me right now, be a good mom, because that's also who I am, but focus on getting back to my craft. You know, the world's opening back up. So it's my time to get out there and thrive.
Well, I will say following you on Instagram has been great, even though we're friends. You know, my lock journey and your lock journey, mine happened way before yours. You know, mine was super long, but then you started yours, and then all of a sudden, I mean, you just really flipped your IG page and started showing people how you wrap your hair every day, because it saved my life. I messaged you, I said, thank you for that. When my edges were just not being polite, I learned from you how to wrap my hair with some materials, and I started finding some material around the house. I was like, oh, I can use this too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can see how you definitely used your COVID time to like just kind of figure out some new things to do. I mean, it got to that point, right? It's like,
Yep.
what else can we do? Well, look, we're going to continue this conversation. You will be joining us with our panel after our esteemed guest speaker that we will have right after this. So just let me give you another round of applause. And I thank you so much for your talent. She did this right before the show. She wrote this. This is a real artist with real talent. So give it up one more time for Ellie B. Just the snaps.
Thank
The
you.
snaps. You know, there's comments dropping disconnect. Birds has dropped a message and said poetry was on fire. So this girl is on fire. All right. All right. So we'll see you back here in a few.
Yes.
Thank you. Let's see. All right, everyone. As you can see, we are already getting off to a good start. So what we're going to do now is get ready for our guest speaker for this evening. So I'm going to give a little intro. So Mayor Pro Tem DD Adams. She is a Winston-Salem legend, I will just say that, and a council member here again in Winston-Salem. She has served as the council member for the North Ward of Winston-Salem since 2009. Council member Adams serves her community as Mayor Pro Tem and through her involvement as the Vice Chair of the Finance Committee and as Chair of the Community Development, Housing, and General Government Committee. She is an advocate for bringing healthy, and I love this part, healthy options into food deserts, including the hydroponic and aquaponics, I learned a new word, facility being built at the Martin Luther King Community Center. Her involvement with the Think Orange campaign called for a community-wide effort to address food insecurity to combat hunger. Councilmember Adams has previously served on the boards of SciWorks, Arts Council, Delta Fine Arts, United Way Women's Leadership Circle, Winston-Salem Sustainability Commission, UFIT. Oh my gosh, it goes on and on and on. Oh my goodness. You know what? I'm gonna let her talk more about herself, because I'll tell you what, it's something to hear. So let's, without further ado, let's just go ahead and hear from her. Y'all give it up for Mayor Pro Tem DD Adams. Hello.
Hey, baby. Hey, sweetie.
I was gonna go on, and I almost stopped and just sat there and just started reading it myself. Like, wow.
I was gonna tell you, don't read all of that. Just, I tell people when they look at it and get started. But another thing, as a woman and a Black female, born and raised in Winston-Salem, don't never let nobody steal your spirit, no matter what that is.
We learned that earlier today, didn't
we? My spirit is my body of work.
Mm-hmm.
That is how my life will be determined and documented long after I'm gone. But I always tell people, you don't have to read all of that. Just tell them, go to the city website or something like that. But I've been on, I tell women all the time, I've lived long enough now, whereas a lot of things that a lot of women or African-American women do, I've already been there and done that. Thank God for my life. I thank you all for inviting me this evening to impart some inspiration and wisdom. When you're young, you think like, I'm never going to be able to do this, but it's my responsibility now. I'm an ancestor. I'm an elder. I'm a queen. That's right. And the work has been hard. The work, path to where I am, DD Adams, Mayor Pro Tem, of a city with almost 250,000 people. Winston-Salem has never had a Black mayor, even though we could now, but we've never had one. That's something for you people to think about. I enjoy my work. I'm a public servant volunteer, like most Black people. We serve. We shoulder the work. We are the water bearers and the carriers. We've been carrying the water since time. We shoulder all the burdens, all the cares, all of the good stuff, but we are the water carriers. And I tell Black women that you are who you are. You are beautiful in all you are, whoever you are. It doesn't matter how you wear your hair, or how you dress, how you walk, how you talk. You are beautiful in your own. And never let anybody make you believe otherwise. When I realized it was my time, I would say when I had been told that I could not run for the city council in 1989. You see, I'm a fighter. I'm a brick thrower, but I'm also a team person. I work well with others. I play well on the playground with everybody. Until you push me out of the swing, then that's another story. But the men told me that it wasn't my time. Quoted exactly. That it was another Black male's time, not me. And I had worked in the venues. I'd done everything, blah, 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 volunteered, knocked on doors, helped people's campaign, ran people's campaigns. But it wasn't my time. And at that point then, I did a pivot. And since they told me I couldn't run for city council, I ran for the state house. And nobody expected me to even, compete, because that was my first office. I was like 34, 35. And I came in second. The guy had like 100 votes more than me. I could have called for the runoff, but I didn't. I also believe in, as Black women and women, whatever your faith, the power that you believe is bigger than yourself, listen to it. Because it will let you know when it's your time. It is not Chronos time by your Fitbit and your Apple Watch and all of that. It's Kairos time. It's divine time. It's time that you and I think is seconds when it's centuries. But when it speaks to your spirit, you need to listen to it and don't let nobody stop you. Just like the young artist, you have to take care of you. And I expect you all to start running for office. The work is hard, but it's no harder than you being an administrator, a mother, a wife, a support system for your family and friends. But because of our strength, it's our time now to do what we have been called to do. Again, we are the carriers. We carry the water. Kamala Harris, we carry the water. Our president would not have won if it had not been for Black women, because Black women vote over 90% of the time in every election. And I don't care if it's a dog catcher running, we go vote. That's what we do. The House that we took in 2018, that was Black women voting and getting Black women to Congress. I just need you to understand. That was, Reverend Warlock. That was Black Women Organized Voting. Stacey Abrams, Black Women Organized. We can do everything and anything once we put our minds to it. It's our time. It's our time. And I can tell you this, I have been on the council now for 12 years. I just won my 4th term last year. I ran for Congress in 2018 against Representative Virginia Fox. People told me I couldn't run because I couldn't win and nobody's going to vote for the Black woman with the bald-headed little Black woman. I almost beat that woman. And I had white people voting for me up in the mountains that had never even seen a Black person. But once I came up there and they saw me and I talked to them and they saw we had more in common than not. See, we all are like threads in a piece of cloth. Each thread has its own purpose. And together, we're all stronger together. So I tell you, all of you that's listening and looking at this, do you, because that's what I do. I do me. I fight for righteousness, what's just, even when people say, no, you need to shut up. My purpose in life and my time is to be a troublemaker. I get in good trouble.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. Again, when I read your bio this week, and I kept trying to cut it down, I felt bad as I was cutting it down, and I was like, well, I think people want to hear more from Miss DD Adams than they do want to hear from me reading off who she is, and just hearing you. And when we bring the panel together, you'll see our vice president of the political action chair, Miss Ashanti Marshall. She asked me, she said, Shalee, can we get Miss DD Adams? And I sent that to you in an email. And then there's another administrator here on campus. She asked me, can we get Miss DD Adams? I have heard you speak. I have watched you through all these years. I have voted for you every time. And I mean, just in this moment, hearing you, I know that this panel that's coming up right here in a minute is going to be unbelievable. So I want to not stop you right now, but I want to bring everyone on because I feel that this conversation is going to get really, really interesting. Mainly because each individual that I bring up, they'll do a quick introduction of themselves and let us know why they feel like it is their time. Everything that you just mentioned has actually been a part of our pre-meeting that we had. We started talking for 30 minutes. It went over an hour. And once we almost finished talking, I was like, y'all, we need to stop because we keep talking. This might as well be the show because we were, getting into it. So I know that when I bring everybody up and we start this discussion, I feel like I can just talk to you one-on-one. So I hope one day we can have a meeting and have a little lunch and talk. That would be awesome. But I want to bring in our panelists and continue this conversation. But before we do, is there anything else you want to say to everyone?
I just want everyone to know, just finished the election last year, November. It was just a matter of living with COVID for a year. I need you to understand that 2022 is just months away. And if we are going to hold on to whatever it is Biden or this administration can do, we have got to retain the Congress and the Senate, and we need to take control of the North Carolina, the legislature. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, I personally stand with you. So now I'm going to go ahead and bring in our panel one at a time. Look at all these beautiful faces. Oh my God, you guys look great. Set this up nice. Here we are. All right. So as you all saw in the, let me see, there we are. Trying to make this cute. Hold on. As you all saw, there we go. Woo! Did I keep everybody? Everybody's here. Okay, good. As I mentioned in our private chat, we're just gonna go in order. Or you guys, everybody sees everybody like what's the TV show? Not the Partridge Family. What is it?
The Brady Bunch?
Hollywood Squares.
Let's just go over here as we see everyone. Ms. Brown, you can go first.
Good evening, everyone. It is so great to be here with such beautiful women on this panel. I'm so uber excited. So I missed the pregame. So I'm even more excited because I get the first of this. So I'm definitely excited to be here tonight. I am the senior state coordinator for Black Voters Matter here in North Carolina, and I'm just elated to be a part of something so great and so wonderful. I mean, to hear from and learn from other women like myself in the game, and excited to be a part of this.
Okay, well, good evening, everybody. My name is Jade Clark. I'm a current senior master communications major, justice studies minor, and I currently serve as the student body president at Winston-Salem State University. This is so nice. I'm super excited to be around such amazing women. When we had our pregame, we could have talked for hours. So
we're gonna call it the pregame. Okay, I see.
Right, we just gonna call it the pregame. But I'm super excited to be here for the real thing. So great to be here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Heather Davis, and I currently serve as the Executive Director for Student Engagement and Leadership at North Carolina Central University. And I'm super excited to be here as well.
Good evening, y'all. I'm Destiny McKinney. I am currently in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I am a consultant for higher ed, and I focus on historically Black colleges and universities. I am also pursuing my doctorate in adult education, and I'm a mommy of 5 and a wife to 1.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ashanti Marshall. I am a senior biology major, art and chemistry minor from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I currently serve as the Political Action Committee co-chair and president of PRISM.
Hello, everyone. Hi, ladies on the panel. Great to see those of you again who are on the pregame / those who I know in real life. Mayor Pro Tem, certainly an honor to be in your presence. Always a pleasure to see you. My name is Abria Armstrong. I am the president of the Winston-Salem Urban League Young Professionals, as well as senior marketing and communications coordinator with the Innovation Quarter. Such a pleasure. Again, my name is Elena Barron. I go by LEB. I'm a spoken word artist out of Winston-Salem, and I'm also an arts administrator for the Keenan Institute for the Arts at UNCSA.
All right. Good evening, ladies. My name is Takesha Red. I go by Keisha. I'm a Winston-Salem native, and I currently serve as assistant city attorney here in the city of Winston.
All right. So did I need to make sure I didn't? Okay. So let's get this started. I did tell everyone to, from our pregame, we had some notes and, so that we can all, tag in on, pieces of conversations that connect with some of the things we talked about. I'm not going to go through a list because we have our own list. So I want to start with something. I'm gonna hold off on that. So let's talk about this. One thing that I know, and I'm speaking personally, and many of you that are my friends know I talk about this, and I'm overcoming this, and it's dealing with anxiety. One of the craziest situations is how we talk ourselves out of being great. I could go around this circle, and I can already add Miss Adams to this because she kind of spoke into this, but she spoke into me, and I will say we have all had this conversation dealing with me about stopping. And Heather, I'm looking at you directly because I don't know how many times you done pulled me in the room and said, Shalee, sign up for grad school, get it together. And pleased to tell you all, I should be taking my first class this summer. Yes. Okay. But with anxiety, I think it stops us from doing beyond the smallest thing. It can stop us from waking up in the morning and deciding to do some sit-ups. It can stop us from deciding that, when we get in the car, that we'll listen to something inspirational. It can just stop you from doing the smallest things. So I want to start with that, and then we can just allow the conversation to go where it may. Whoever would like to start.
I mean, I can start. I'll say that I know personally for me, like that like imposter syndrome comes in big on a regular basis for me. And it's a strange thing because I can speak positivity, I can affirm everyone else around me, but when it comes to myself, it seems like I'm the biggest critic of myself. I'm the one who's like, wait, I can't do this. I'm not qualified. Wait, this isn't my lane. Let me stay in my area. And I think that a lot of women just do that because I've got friends and I see them do the same thing. And I think that that's where it comes into having that good circle, that circle that when you say these negative things about yourself, they can come back in and they're like, no, girl, that's not you. You know that's not you at all. And I think that for me, it's also been a matter of like writing down things and going back and looking at them, like affirming things about myself that I previously thought was like something that was a flaw, and figuring out how actually that flaw is actually meant to work in my favor, and figuring out how I can shift that narrative.
Yeah, what I'll say is that I'm really grateful for grad school at Wake. That's what I'm trying to figure out which, behind me here, this degree. And what business school really taught me was about how our counterparts, and I'm really trying to be mindful of what I say here to be PC, but I'm sure you all will hear me when I say, it made me realize the capacity of our counterparts, and it made me realize our exceptionalism, and how we are so capable, and how often they will apply for jobs where they only know 20% of what the job description is requiring, while we won't apply unless we know 80%. And so often for lack of a better term, I'll ask myself, what would a white man do? And if a white man wouldn't hesitate, then I try to do my best to not either, though certainly we have to govern ourselves accordingly. But I certainly use that to remind me that I'm fully capable.
Well, I'll jump in here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
One of the things when I first came out of law school that one of my mentors shared with me, and I don't know why I never thought to apply it to my own life, but he said, as soon as you give up the fear of looking like a fool, that's when the magic happens. And he was being, kind of tongue in cheek about it, and because we were talking about trial and, well, what if I make the wrong objection, or what if and he was like, the jurors won't know. Most people won't know. And even if you do, you just say, oh, my mistake. You own it and you move on. And I think as women in general, and Black women in particular, we put so much pressure on ourselves that when we speak, we say the right thing or the perfect thing. And, the expression, I don't even know who came up with it, but perfect is the enemy of good. It's just like, get it out. You can refine it later. You don't have to write the masterpiece the first time. And that's something that I have to tell myself daily, because I find that in other areas of my life, I too put the brakes on myself. So that's something that I am actively working on. And I want to encourage everybody, just don't worry about looking crazy. Don't worry about how it's going to sound. Just get it out there.
For me, I would like to, I just have to name it for what it is. When we say anxiety, it's like, what is that? And where does it come from? And it's just, it feels like it's convoluted, and it just helps to keep the anxiety. And so I just have to name it. As a woman, it's internalized patriarchy. As a Black woman, it's internalized oppression that's indicative of whiteness and trying to aspire to those things while still being whole and being me. And so when I can name and shame the devil, then the devil become a whole lie. And it's no longer that anxiety, this poof of something that I just really don't know what it is. And it's easier to break down. It's easier to show up full and whole as myself, to address those two things, as opposed to this cloud of what could potentially be and continue to be and never really go away. I think we make it so elusive and scapegoat a lot of the underlying systemic issues when we just blanket it as anxiety.
I'll go. I just wanted to I like to give other people a chance to speak. But a lot of times I would say for me, I feel that way in different spaces, but I also feel like that in different aspects of life because I haven't really gone there. I think my ultimate fear or my ultimate being paranoid is just I've never been in this space of life or I've never gotten to this point. So I'm just paranoid about my own abilities and what I can do. But I fail to realize, and a lot of young people fail to realize, like, you've made it through so many different stages. It's not like you're incapable or you're unable to do so. So it's just a lot of times getting into our own heads about the future, but we just got to live in the now. So yeah, I would say that.
So there are times that I believe that anxiety that we experience is kind of like in our DNA, that we're born in, and we come from a state of anxiety and stress. And I think it also has a lot to do with the fact that we carry this burden of being the representative, right? And so anxiety, stress, fear, all of those partnered together, entering into a space and not wanting to fail, right? But then we're all in positions, just everyone speaking about their respective areas of expertise. Shoot, we're trained. We've been in situations where we kind of encourage and coach and advocate for others to kind of push through that. And I think maybe in those spaces, we never really pause to really identify it. Right. And so therefore, we don't deal with it well because we don't really deal with it. We kind of just push through. And so for me, when we were talking about, how do we know that this is our time? I think that Mayor Pro Temp DD Adams spoke it beautifully when she said it's not just our times individually, but as Black women. I think that has been identified that it's our time. But I think that the indicator for me was just how uncomfortable I've been, like, especially like within this last year in particular. And so just the level of discomfort and literally being able to sit in the fact that it has been extremely uncomfortable for me has really identified that this is probably when the world is just really going to explode or opportunities are really going to, present themselves for me at this time, because I've never really been able to sit in it and really identify being in a kind of in a place of transition. So
I think anxiety for me comes from the expectation of everyone else. Like, you're expected to be Wonder Woman. You're expected to be the person that takes care of everything, that does this, that does that. The expectation of that. So living up to that expectation brings on a sense of anxiety for me. A lot of times what happens is, I begin to question, like many others, that have said it already on the call. Am I even good enough to do this? Is this my space? Is this where I'm supposed to be? But then going back and being like, well, why not me? Who else is going to do it? Why not me? That whole situation is kind of like having that one-on-one conversation with yourself. If nobody else is going to do it, then that's for you to do and for you to grow in and to work in and to move in. And sometimes that I find that my anxiety turns out to be my biggest strength in that moment. So for me, it's a lot of times the expectation of folks. And then a lot of times, I'm blessed to be able to be in a lot of spaces with political leaders that people feel like are untouchable, or celebrity folks that people feel like are untouchable. And people, they laugh at me all the time. They're like, Danielle, you treat them like they're just normal people, because they are. Like, I don't get starstruck or anything like that when it comes to it, because they are normal people. And a lot of times, they have just as much anxiety as we're having in that moment, just in being in the same space. Even in being in spaces where we are, together as Black women, am I living up to the way she does things, or whatever? We go back and forth with ourselves. And I think, but a lot of times if we live in our own moment, and we take what we can do and say, why not me? Why wouldn't it be me? And take that and run with that. I think a lot of times we overcome that. And again, it becomes like our biggest strength in that moment. So where we can move to the next and say, oh, I did that. All right, I want to do something else, that type of thing.
Well, for me, I want to speak for, the day of social media, and that adds an extra layer to anxiety that young Black women face today, because we have something called FOMO, and that's fear of missing out. So we see what somebody else is doing, and that adds to us, and we compare, and we think that we don't have time. It's almost like, watching somebody else's race. It's not a race, it's a journey. And I always have to constantly remind myself I'm only 21 years old, so I have the rest of my life to do anything. So that's like an extra layer that we do face, because we're always constantly comparing. Lord, there's somebody.
That's the Wonder Woman ring.
You hear me? I forgot to silence my computer. But yeah, we're always constantly comparing, and I really appreciate what I can't see the names. Was it Destiny? Miss Destiny, I really appreciate what you said when you said identifying the true causes of what all Black women underlying we face, an extra layer, because we're a double minority, and fighting the patriarchy and white professionalism. That's something we always have to face, and imposter syndrome is very real. So that is something that we really do struggle with, and so overcoming it is very important.
Miss Adams?
I just want to tell you, ladies. What? Now? I just want to tell you, ladies, that you inspire me. I'm old enough to be probably some of your great grandmother or something, but you inspire me always. I look to younger African American Black women to keep me youthful. Does it mean I act like I'm 21? Well, maybe sometimes, but I'm not afraid. And I want you all to understand that you should never be afraid. I've been in the places you've been. Like I said, when I went to work after college, I cut my hair like this, and this is in the 70s. And I've always been the only Black woman in the room, whether it was a conference room, a boardroom, a corporation. And I've always made my presence heard, whether they wanted to hear it or not. Maybe a couple of times I got some bad performance reviews, but that I chalk up to life, because you can't be silent. We are the voice of not just ourselves, but our children, our legacy, our people, our culture. And I know you think that's a lot, but you can handle it. Trust me. You don't even know how strong you are right now. Because see, I ain't scared. I've learned all my life, when you got this much melanin and this kind of hair and this much mouth, you can't be scared. And all I want to tell you, like I said, make time for you. Make sure you have a hobby, something or something that you go do to get away. I don't care whether it's doing exercise, do gardening, play tennis, golf, go swimming, go do something that is just about you, whether you're good at it or not. But it gives you a chance to focus on you.
Destiny.
All right, I want to make sure. Sure. All right. Well, that's an amazing segue. Just even the fact to have the space to even discuss anxiety or discuss some of the things that may bog us down. It brings up the topic and notion of vulnerability. And a lot of people think it's just something that stands alone on its own and doesn't. A lot of folks don't acknowledge the courage that you need to have in order to be vulnerable. And it's honestly, it feels like it's innately in us, but only in these small spaces that we carve out for ourselves. And I think the biggest piece, and I'm going to pass the mic after I lead with this, especially for women of color, is those small spaces that we carve out for ourselves to be vulnerable and courageous enough to be vulnerable. We need to start trying to widen those spaces, because there's so many of us that need locality. They need a focal point. They need something to touch, to physically say, hey, I've been there too. Because just being on this panel, we've all experienced something that we think no one else has experienced, but we haven't been in a space that we've been courageous enough to be vulnerable to say, look, I'm going through this, and we just taking that bag with us, going along, helping along the way. And so I really, really think around this topic of vulnerability, this will help to ease the anxieties and to ease the spaces that we enter if we can honor and hold that up in a space with no shame. We'll get to shame later. But anyone want to speak on vulnerability?
I will, because I think sometimes we are our worst critics and we are our worst enemies. And then sometimes we judge each other, which adds another layer as Black women to the reason why we don't feel comfortable in being vulnerable in certain spaces. Sometimes, hey, y'all, we hard on each other. It's that simple. We can chew each other and spit each other out as Black women. We know we can. And just being real in that moment and understanding who we are and how we need to work together to be able to even feel comfortable in that space, to be able to be vulnerable, more or less to broaden the space. Because sometimes, we feel like, we have to be the superwoman of the group. We have to be the person that doesn't have anything going on or anything of that nature. So it becomes, when you get into a space where you are vulnerable, where things are breaking down, then you have people looking at you like, what's going on? What's wrong with you? What happened? That type of thing. I recently myself, I can speak for me, because I had to be vulnerable earlier, this year, with my entire family being, subjected to COVID. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. My mom is in the hospital. It's like, that's hard. That's a whole situation. It was so funny. I can laugh about it now, because my sister, she was like, I cried. And my sister, she called, she was like, okay, so I don't know what to do with you. Like, you don't cry and this is scary and I don't know what to do, So because I am that strong person. So for me to break down, it was like, everybody was like, okay, if she's breaking down, then what's happening? What's going on? That type of thing. But we have to be honest and real about the things that are going on. In that moment, like, I couldn't hold it. I couldn't do anything else. All I could do was just cry, and that was it. And so when everybody saw that, it was, oh, well, you need to go check on your sister, you need to go do this, you need to go do that, because it was like, okay, she's falling apart. So if she's falling apart, what is the rest of us going to do? So we take a lot of that on, but to be comfortable in that space to even do that with certain folks, it's really hard. It's hard to find those people and to find that woman circle that you can be that way with, without feeling the judgment or something's wrong with you, or girl, what's up with or trying to be in your business or whatever the situation is. That's a really, really hard situation. So I think we have to really take ownership of our own vulnerability, and then how we treat other women in their vulnerability as well.
I definitely agree with that. And I also want to change the perspective. Like, a lot of behavior we see is taught. And this is something that can be taught too. So like in my household, you typically see, even in a typical Black household, like your mother and your grandmother are taking care of the house. They're doing everything. They moving. They never really sit down and really let somebody see how they're really feeling. Like, they usually just make sure everybody's fine. They handle it by themselves. You never really know what's going on. And it's kind of just been taught like that. You take care of everything. You don't have time to stop and breathe and think. You just got to make sure everybody's fine and be that glue for every situation. Even growing up with, I have 3 older brothers, boy cousins. We were taught to you don't talk about emotions. We don't do that. You just kind of pick it up and deal with it yourself and move on. Nothing that happens in here, it just stays in here. It doesn't go nowhere else. You just find your time to deal with it. But once I got to college and undergrad and starting to be on my own, I ran across this group of young Black women that were trying, Ashanti was in that group, but all of us were trying to be close-knit friends. And at first I was that standoffish. I don't do that. I don't get close like that. That's not my bag. And it kind of hindered me from building those real meaningful relationships and friendships. Like, I know a lot of you guys on this call are close with each other. I was that friend you would probably look at and be like, why is she too standoffish for me? Like, I don't know why she's not opening up. It took undergrad and being in a space to where I'm forced to have to collaborate and forced to be innovative and creative with all these different people to realize, you got to break out of that. And as a Black woman, it's okay to share your emotions. Like, it's okay to open up and talk, and you don't have to be so hard. Like, it's okay to be vulnerable. But the question I would ask all the time is, when is it too vulnerable? Like, when am I being taken advantage of because I'm opening up so much? Or when can people start feeling, oh, I'm just going to walk all over you because you're a Black female or you're a young Black woman? And in SGA and being president, it's like, when you can't find that balance. You're dealing with admin, you're dealing with board of trustees, you're in a space with all these adult grown people, and they look at you as, oh, you're just a kid, you know? And then you go to your students and you're trying to be this liaison. It's really hard to just find a balance. So it's hard to kind of get out of that, but at the same time, it is definitely needed. And I definitely think if it's kind of talked about in our households and really passed on through generations later on, we could break that cycle.
I want to piggyback off that because I think that is a valuable point, that, you know, what's taught in the household. Because for me, I grew up in a household where I was always taught to speak my mind. No matter what the case was, I was taught to speak my mind and to stand up and speak my truth. And so I found that once I got into the workplace, though, that became a thin line of trying to figure out a balancing act, really, of figuring out how to be vulnerable, but also not, and letting people know, like, when my feelings have been hurt, and realizing that having feelings and them being hurt is not something that makes me weak. And then also figuring out how to be able to say that, hey, when I'm wronged, being able to call out the wrong that was done to me without the fear of being viewed as that angry Black woman, especially when you're the only Black person in the workspace. And I think that as Black women, we really need to figure out how to tap into that, how to realize that, you know what, we can speak out about what's wrong and what's being done to us without it being just something that we have to just internalize. I mean, about a year ago or so, I was attacked, you know, like full on attacked by someone that I worked with. And I was told something that I felt like a lot of Black women hear. And I don't know if they hear it or it's just something that I know that we strive to try to do, right? I was told that I was too much my authentic self at work. And for me, that was a shocker, because I feel like the one place that I am not my authentic self is at work. And I feel like that's a vulnerability thing, is because I think with us, we don't feel like we can really be ourselves when we're out in the world sometimes. And Dee Dee, I love how you said that you were always you, you know what I mean? And to do you and to be a troublemaker. And I mean, my parents taught me to be a troublemaker, but I still found myself in that space of wanting to be a troublemaker, but also still wanting to be accepted by a different part of the society. And I think that, you know, that's part of that vulnerability of figuring out, like, look, it's okay to say that somebody's done you wrong and to call them out on it.
I want to go. Oh, like the next. So, like, I'm so happy that I learned a couple years ago, the word gaslighting became more popular. And I never knew what that meant. I didn't know what it meant for a while, but once I learned what it meant, I handled it a lot better. And that's like, as a Black woman, that's like one of our worst enemies. Like, that's the tactic. It's a weapon used against us, because when we speak up about our emotions or we call something out, oh, you're crazy. You're being too sensitive. I don't know what you're talking about. So when I learned that word, it was easier to identify what people were doing, and it's easier to be vulnerable, because I know when somebody responds to me, oh, you're being too sensitive. Oh, what are you talking about? I know why they're doing it. I know my feelings are valid. So that's just the point I wanted to add in there. So that's what helped me this year to deal with becoming more vulnerable and handling it when people try to throw it back in my face.
That was a great point. So ditto to everything that everyone has said, but just to add a little bit of a different perspective, I think there are spaces where it becomes very difficult, and I can speak for myself. It becomes difficult to be vulnerable because you have the fear that your vulnerability will get in the way of the work that may need to happen in the space, especially if you see a need, or if you see someone else is hurting, or if you see someone else and they enter the space because they need assistance, or you have kind of been labeled as that go-to person. And so you kind of get accustomed to, you know, really kind of harnessing certain things so that your vulnerability and the things that you're experiencing doesn't potentially, or it doesn't inadvert, like it just doesn't get in the way, right? And so it's not that you're not being authentic. It's just that in certain spaces, there's this fear that your vulnerability will totally derail everything from the goal. And I know for me, that is something at my age I'm still currently working on, is trying to prioritize myself and putting as much value on the things that are going on with me as I do with the things that are going on with others. And so I think, again, going back to, the initial part of our conversation, just about, carrying that burden of being responsible for everyone and everything. For me, that has really skewed the way that I prioritize myself. So.
Heather, I really appreciate you bringing up the idea of value, because to me, like, value is really where also like vulnerability comes in terms of being able to examine where have we been done wrong, and whether that's financially, whether that is in a terms of a relationship, like whether it's private or business relationship, and to the point, especially about financial value. And I saw one of the comments go across the ticker about our sort of fear or around asking for promotions. To me, that ties right into the idea of like knowing our value in one of our first conversations around anxiety, and really just taking a moment to say, and again, forgive me, because I know often, this whole think like a white man can be like a kind of like off-putting, but I got to bring it up again, because when you think about things, especially around finance and promotions, they are going for it. They aren't afraid to ask. I see that, around me often. And so whether that is, I say to myself, I deserve that too. And so literally right now I'm saying to myself, tomorrow I need to send an email. And whether that's you putting together a PowerPoint to say, I have gone above and beyond and done these things, or whether that's in a personal relationship, whether that's literally just articulating it. But we also need to make sure that we're holding ourselves accountable for actually doing those things and and upholding ourselves to our greatest value. You're muted.
I think you're absolutely right. I think about when you think about the work that we're all doing, a lot of times, like I literally just had a conversation with a really good friend of mine earlier about how do you charge people? Like, and he was like, you really, seriously, really, you, out of everybody that I would have never thought that conversation would be having with you. And I'm like, because I'm just used to doing the work. Like, it's there, you do it, you call it a day, and nobody has to ask for anything or whatever, that type of thing. And so I have that's something I have a hard time with, is making sure it's sometimes charging for me, making sure that, I'm taken care of. I don't, a lot of times I also think about too but nobody has a hard time asking you for something either. So they don't have a hard time throwing it at you and saying, because they know you will get it done. So with that being said, it's, kind of like we struggle sometimes as Black women, where's the balance in all of that? Where's the balance with my worth versus what I'm going to get done, or whatever, because I've always been taught whatever you do it to your best. Like there's no half stepping. You do it right the first time. You don't have to worry about it or anything of that nature. So when it comes down to it, that's my frame of mind. Let's get it done. Let's do it to the best of my ability and keep moving. But then I get lost in the sauce sometimes. And so with that being said, how do you pull yourself, along, and I'm glad I have amazing people around me that are like, yeah, I'm going to need for you to do this. And I'm going to need for you to do that. Matter of fact, can you give me my cut? Because I had to listen to you fuss about something else when it came down to it, or whatever. I have good people around me that say things of that nature to pull me into that space. But a lot of times we as Black women, we devalue ourselves because of the fact that we do so much, and we don't necessarily do it for the recognition, or we don't do it for the money or whatever. We just do it because that's our nature. That's what we do. We take care of everything. As Mayor Pro Tem said, we're the ones who carry the water. and we've been carrying it for so long. It's like, oh, there's a price tag on that water now. You know, there's a price tag on me carrying that from point A to point B. You know, we have to kind of get to that point or whatever. So I think sometimes we have to think about our value a little bit more and prioritize our value a whole lot more.
I had a friend who recently, we had this like a very, very similar conversation, and it tied into exactly what you just said. I mean, she took a step back and was like, you know what? I know what I've done for this organization. I know what I've done. Like, I know that they have gotten to a level that they had never reached before. And if they don't want to accommodate me in the way that I see fit, then I'm going to take my services elsewhere. And as soon as she went, found another position that was more in line to get her to her ultimate goal, the other company came back and they're like, wait, but we really need you though. But what you did for us was amazing. We can give you more now. We couldn't give it to you when you asked originally, but now we can give it to you. So it just showed me the importance of saying, you know what? There's value in what I do, and there's value in the services that I provide. And if people don't want it to match what I'm asking for that, then I need to take my services elsewhere because somebody will.
I know we're about to switch. Go ahead.
I just want you all to understand, when I was coming along, you got to know your worth. Nobody else is going to know your worth but you. You can put your price tag based on what you think your friends are getting, your family are getting paid or making, but only you know what you're worth. I learned early how to play the game because it's a game. I saw that in the going across the bottom. It's a game. Play the game. And what I mean is you never sell yourself short or put yourself in a compromising situation, but you have got to play the game. When it came time for performance reviews and raises and merits and bonuses during my 39-year career in corporate America, I learned early that I had to I made sure I documented every day. Y'all got journals now. We had composition notebooks. I would go home and document my whole day, regardless of how insignificant somebody else thought it was. If at the end of the day, I could tie that insignificance to my job and quantify it, and then look at the end of the year or quarterly metrics and see that something that I was tied to in my goals went up 5%, 30%. Then when I asked for my money, I didn't wait for them to tell me what my money was when I got a review. I told them what I was worth. And based on, I created actual notebooks that I had binded at FedEx, Kinko's and stuff. And I would give one to my manager, and I would sit down with him and he would say, well, based on the metrics and the goals, I don't think our department, and I didn't meet my goals. I said, no, you didn't meet your goals. I met my goals. I said, you know how? I'm going to show you. I gave him his book. And when he went through it, he wanted to know, when did I collect all this data and documentation? Don't worry about it. It's there and it can be proven. And I told him if he could not give me my raises, and I got a reputation for it, then I would go to the highest up person in the company and present them with their book and be prepared to defend my case of my worth. Our ancestors were slaves. They did not allow us to know our worth. They knew our worth. It's time for us to don't even think twice about knowing your worth. But I need you, even if you're in your own business, every day in that peacetime, document your work so that nobody can deny it.
It's all been said. No, I don't have anything to say.
Well, I want to bring something up because at this moment, and someone even dropped in the chat, Miss Talina, about sister circles. So I know one event that was very powerful, and we're always trying to reconfigure it, and I hope that Miss Davis takes it on with her to Central. I know she will. But when we did our, excuse me, I don't know what's in my eye. We did a sister circle and our brother to brother. And during those times, you know, there are those moments where so much comes up where you look at one. Sorry, they're gonna see me do this. I'm sorry. So many people within that circle start to let you know you're not alone. You're not the only one dealing. And you know, I think, you know, one thing that I've dealt with, I heard Danielle speak about it. You see celebrities and you're thinking, you know, you see them on Instagram and it look like all their life is together. I don't know what's going on. Their whole life is together, and then you realize, you know, they're just as broken. That makeup, that whoever's, you know, supporting them and giving them money, as far as, you know, them getting their likes and all that, all of it is false. And it's hard for us to take that and talk to, and I want to say this because we're all in a situation where I can say this, the younger generation doesn't understand, especially how, you know, a sister circle like this, we'll come together, you know, and we'll talk, friends, you know, I'll call, text, y'all, I need to talk this out. I need to get this out of my brain before I go crazy. And I think this generation, they don't turn to a circle or try to, or have a support system. They turn to social media. And when they do, that is not talking back to them. It's just showing them a reflection of what they really want to be or want to see. That's false. So I know that we have some college students that are not only on this panel, but that are also listening in. What advice should we give as far as support, how we should, and not support, you know, and let's be honest, we'll say support and then it's like, you know, find a mentor or whatever. And it's like, oh, that's cute. No, honestly, what is it that they need to do to find true support? And, you know, if you all can go along and do that, I'm going to go correct my eyeball. Be right back.
I'll quickly start by saying, personally, all I feel like you need is one good girlfriend. One, maybe at the most two good girlfriends who are in a similar place in life, who you all can just kind of text each other things from Black Twitter, talk about your day, etc. I don't think that you need, while it is nice, a large circle. I really think that you, with a tight one that wants to go, because not everybody wants to go with you. And I think that's going to be particularly mindful for our college students to understand. I think even they have seen how between freshman year and Jaden, between freshman year and senior year, some people have already fallen off. So personally, I think if you keep that circle tight, especially like one or two good girlfriends, you'll be good to go.
On the other end, I take the village concept and an intergenerational village at that. And so I have folks in my circle who, because melanin is just so freaking amazing, they could be my grandmother, but they look like they're my sister, probably 3 years removed. So I got folks in their 50s and 60s that I talk to, and you would think that we grew up together, but their mentorship of where I am now and them used to being there, and like, okay, I see you, I need you to take these steps, or I need to connect you with this person. But on the same token, me giving a fresher look to being in this space, in this time, living in this time and space on a different part of the spectrum, and being able to have those cross-generational conversations to navigate the experience now has been the game changer for me. And I didn't know what I needed until I needed it, and it was there. Like, it was always around. I didn't have to tap into it. I had to step outside of myself and not be afraid to go sit next to that sister and be like, hey, I'm Destiny. I admire you. And we was gonna start right there. And we would have conversations, because it would be literally, I would be sitting somewhere and you see a Miss Dee and you're like, woo, like, because you're amazing. And that can scare people who don't consider themselves as such, or don't think, because they haven't completed your resume, that like, well, what can I add to it? You ain't been here the way she's been here to do what she's done. Like, you can get there, but you ain't so just honor it and go step next to it and see if she shines some light on you. And so that's what I would do. I would go step next to folks and see if they shine that light, and I in turn shine that light. And it's this relationship that gives and takes, and it's circular, and it's so amazing. And I liken it to when you sit down and you look at, like when Toni Morrison passed, and you looked at her sister circle, how they came together. Do you understand that phone tree? When Toni, Sonia Sanchez, Maya Angelou, Nikki Giovanni, when they would get on the call and chit chat with each other across generations, the people that they have connected that would come to that circle, when they would pick up the phone and be, girl, you okay? I saw that interview. Like, it's things like that. And whenever I get into a little circle, because I have them in different spaces of my life, I liken us to that. Like, this is going to be big later. Like, yeah, they don't know our names now, and they may not never, but we big to us. And so I think that's huge for me, is that I take the time when I'm around folks, and I just go with my gut feeling, and I make it a point to be intentional and relational with Black women who are in my life.
I would offer, I see it on all spectrums, because I'm blessed to be able to have these beautiful sheroes in my life, of all walks of life, all ages, that I can turn to for different perspectives. I'll say this, I'm not afraid to carry the purse. I'm not afraid to get up under somebody and be like, okay, I want to know more, like, and absorb you like a sponge. I'm not afraid of that. Like, okay, you want to go? Oh, okay, let's go. I'm not afraid of that. That's amazing to me. I'm excited to carry the purse. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And to be trusted with that, because that takes a lot. I mean, do you think about it? That takes a lot to even be trusted with it. I would also say that everyone is not, everyone doesn't go with you, and everyone ain't meant to go with you. And once you understand that concept and not try to hold on to people that aren't supposed to even be in your light or be in your space or in your energy or anything of that nature, it's easier for you to be like, okay, I can let go. Sometimes people are just there for a season. They're there to bring you, but so far. And in that case, it's like, let it go. Let that person go. Let them do their thing. Maybe you cross paths again in life, and or whatever. But right now, you're not meant to go with me in the spaces that I'm going to, because you're not on my level. I'm going to greater. I'm headed for greater. And understanding too that even some of our older folks, and I'm not saying this, to be mean or anything like that, but some folks don't mean you any good, and recognizing that ahead of time. Sometimes they don't want you to see you anywhere than where they are. And when they see you trying to go further, they'll be the first ones to try to draw you back and to hold you back and to figure out some kind of way to keep you down. So understanding that and having eyes to recognize that, but also having people around you to recognize that as well. Like I said, I'm really blessed. I have some beautiful, wonderful sheroes in my life. If I get out of pocket, even on social media. Now, they on social media, y'all, because don't let them fool you. But even on social media, I can put something up there, and within 2 minutes later, I'm getting a call that says, first of all, take that down. And secondly, what's wrong? Because I can see all of that in what you just posted. Yes, ma'am. And don't post that no more. Yes, ma'am. And keep it moving. Enough, I have enough respect for you to be like, okay, I get it. I understand. We move forward, and we move forward together. And sometimes didn't even realize either that sometimes I'm that for them. Even though they may be older, I'm that person for them. I'm that person to be able to say, what is it? What's going on? And sometimes that's all they really need, or whatever. So I see it from all spectrums. I see it from the younger generation. I see it from older folks. I have, people that I can truly say are truly my sheroes, no matter what the age is. And I think that sometimes we think about being in our own generation. We don't have to be in our own generation. We can learn from each other. And if we learn to accept that, I think that makes an amazing, beautiful, like we're doing right now, an amazing, beautiful platform for all of us to be together and be vulnerable in those spaces, and be able to express our anxiety or whatever else is coming forward.
So for me, I feel like it's been a blessing that I was taught the skill of interpersonal communication at a young age, and really being able to connect with people, having the ability to surround myself with a strong network of people who challenge and support me, right? So being able to be in a space with people that I trust, that when they challenge or disagree, that it allows me to be introspective as opposed to defensive in posture. And so for me, I have just been blessed with being able to be surrounded by people who have really, really added to my growth as a person. And also learning the skill of being able to enter into a space and create an environment where those that know and those who have the desire to share and pour into me because of how I show up responsibly, right? So if I'm going to show up in a space, I'm not going to waste your time. I'm not going to bring negative energy. You're going to enjoy being around me. And I feel that will always be my responsibility in regards to how I show up. And I count that as a blessing that I had a mother who taught me that very, very early. And so I know that things that I've been able to accomplish, experience, and encounter has everything to do with the ability to enter into a space, not just humbly, but with respect for those who have come before.
I want to add I know like there was a question about like what kind of advice could we give to like the younger generation. And I think that the tidbit that I would like to offer is that while we talk about the circle, I know we've heard that it was good to keep your circle tight. And then it's also good to have a village approach. But I do think that it's important to realize that while it is good to have a tight circle and not to just let everyone in, because everyone's going to have opinions and ideas, and your mind is like a garden and these ideas get planted in them. So you have to go and you have to till your garden and you have to pull out those weeds. Don't be afraid to let like outside people come in, because I think that when we're young, oftentimes we're like, you know what, I already got this group of friends. Like I see where we are, we've grown together, and I don't want to let anybody else. There was like a song at one point, like no new friends. It was a whole thing. Like, no, sometimes people will come into your life because like we said, some people it's only for a season. Well, some people have to come in for that season. It's not always that people are leaving for a season. And I think that a lot of times we forget to just let some people come in. It's okay to meet a new person in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s and up, and make a new friend. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that, you know, we have to remember it's okay to have new friends.
One thing I do, like my space of comfort and vulnerability, I built a very, very, very strong relationship with my grandmother, with my elders. And so everybody doesn't have the opportunity, but anybody who does have the opportunity, and if you have any varying opinions or it's best to handle those. And that gives you a lot of closure and a lot of, because your parents and your family are your safest space, in my opinion. I can tell my mom anything. And it's also important that I don't like trauma dump on her, because her anxiety will go through the roof because it's a mom. So she's still going to worry about me. But she's my number one safe space, and being able, because people tell me I have an old soul. So me being able to sit in spaces and talk to my elders is just a blessing, because I get so much great advice and I get to learn. I get so much wisdom that I can share to my friend group at school. So it's just, so everyone should take that time to sit down. And my grandma, you know, that's hard for older women to become vulnerable. I can sit with my grandma and she's told me so many things, and she's had the opportunity to become vulnerable to me as a grandmother. My mother as well. Like, so learning those things about my elders, it also helps. And so it teaches me how to handle my own situations as well.
I'll say, like, I don't know, like in a different perspective, as I said before, like, that's not always, my family isn't always the welcoming environment of opening up and talking about struggles or issues going on. But I would say, like, agree, definitely, as far as keeping a small circle. I have a small circle. As far as like leaning on others that are around you, looking at people that have been through what you're going through and really tapping in, and not being late like I was with Ms. Davis and waiting until years later and acting on it then. But I would say also, like, be the one to introduce and bring up the conversation. Like, I used to be I would wait for somebody else to say something, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, I can identify with you. But now I'm kind of in this space where I'm like, you know what? I know this is going to benefit everybody that I'm around. So let me just be the one to break the ice. Like, let me be the one to make the change and kind of introduce and start the conversation of us opening up Right, like exactly, Miss Danielle. Why not you? Like, even if in a space of like tension or if something is just off, I am that friend that's gonna be like, so what we're not gonna do is act like there's not an elephant in this room. So let's talk about it, because the more we let it sit there, it's just gonna fester. So now it's just, even with my dad's side of the family or anything, if it's an emotion or something going on, I'm typically that one to say, y'all, it's okay. Like we can talk about it or we can figure it out. You're not by yourself. What's going on? Like, talk to me. So I would say that to any of my peers, don't be afraid to be that one to start the conversation or to make the change or to be the one to initiate, because there's nothing wrong with that at all.
All right. So, this is something I want to. It's just kind of applauds for something that I was able to view and enjoy, and I hate that attorney Key Reed. It's because of the rain. It's kind of knocking some people out. But Miss Adams, the council, the city council meeting that was about 2 weeks ago, where you all were fighting for, I think, more accountability for the city to speak up about how. Why is it every time I start talking, my eye, something starts popping in my eye? The devil, not today. Okay. But you guys were speaking very, very, very sternly about how important it was for, I think, apologies or more of a more accountability for what has happened to our Black neighborhoods, how they have been taken away with the construction of 52 and 40, how many homes and businesses and communities as a whole were told they're gone, they disappeared. And in watching it, the thing that really, and I hope you guys watched the link, I sent it to y'all. If y'all didn't, it's in the email. But seeing how emotional you all got, for me, it made me understand why. And I promise you, I mean, if time ever permits and I'm able to do more, I definitely, and Danielle, I want to hear you about this because we talked about this too, be a lot more involved in what's happening here in Winston, or, even in my local city. I don't even want to talk about, I'll just put the name out there, Morganton, North Carolina. No more words. But just the way that you guys were on this call and on the meeting. I'm calling it a call. This is a call. At the meeting, and you guys were really taking care of business. But the way that you all got emotional, I mean, every time the camera came back, I know it was like quickly you was dabbing your eye, and I didn't know the other lady's name, but she got so emotional. And I wanted to hear more from you about, because I know that was it's a meeting. It wasn't like, I'm sure there were other conversations, but just asking the question of how did you feel in that moment? And what is it as far as advice that you can give to us, the viewers and ones on the panel? I know Ashanti is excited to hear about this. Like, what is it that we can do and what is it that we must do to support issues like this?
And see, I'm doing it again. I was born over there in the Winston-Salem State, the southbound neighborhood, Allgray, right under the railroad tracks in a street that was rutted, dirt, not paved. Duplex. My mom, my dad, my aunt, my uncle, their 2 kids, and my mom and dad's 5 kids. Lived in a 4-room, 2-bedroom house. I was born there. We got the word. My dad used to tell us that 52 was coming. They wanted us to move. All these Black families. I mean, it was Black families as far as the eye could see, and houses and everything. And we had to move. It wasn't like they told us a year in advance. You had to move. And the same thing happened when we moved to Claremont, which y'all know is Martin Luther King, down there where the CVS is. My daddy was given 30 days, 3 months to move his family, 7 kids and a wife, because urbanization was coming through. As far as you could see, there were houses, neighborhoods, grocers, lawyers, doctors, gone. We can only tell you all because you weren't there. You know, there are a lot of people don't want you to know what Councilmember Scipio and I know. We lived it. We were both born and raised here. Winston-Salem State, I can tell you where the Kenneth R. Williams Auditorium is now. That was the American Legion Post 220, the first African-American post for Black veterans from World War II in Korea. My dad, mom, auxiliary, and 14, 15 others, they chartered that post. Across the street was the College Grill. Beside it was the Ice House, the Southern Ice House and Coal House. But they came through and they took all of it. Reparations is not about somebody writing a check like what the stimulus or rescue package is. We'll take it, but that's not what it's about. It's about giving our people, Black people, the legacy of slaves, an opportunity to have a quality of life. That means if you're only paying me $500 a week, because nobody in my family went to college, my parents didn't finish high school, I had 2 babies when I was 13 or 14, you can't completely fault me for that. I was born into that. I wasn't born into whiteness and privilege and money and opportunity. So we are owed an opportunity to own a house based on our income, not on credit scores and whatever. If all I'm making is $500 a week, $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year, then a third of my income, a fourth of my income should go, if less, to a house, own house, not rent. All the Black children should be able to go to college, technical school, based on income, which means if your parents, grandparents ain't got no money, you go free. We should have resources in place to prepare our children with free pre-K. Because I didn't get to go to daycare and kindergarten and nursery. If I had been my sister Rita, she taught me my colors and numbers and all of that by the time I got to first grade in 1960. We're saying small businesses. The reason we don't own small businesses is because they've never invested in us, because they continue to want us to give them our money, our disposable income. We need investments and resources to make our communities look better. We need, you want to talk about crime, gun violence? This is all part of the bigger picture that's been going on for 400 years. If they can keep us in a state of mind that we kill and hurt each other and don't want better, we won't be better. We won't have better. And what we do is we continue to leave that as a legacy for our children behind us. That's why the city had never apologized for its role in slavery. It was slave and free labor that built R.J. Reynolds and AT&T and Westinghouse and all of the big truck companies and the banks, Wachovia, Union, whatever, First Union, Bank America. And Attorney Red know the story. She heard me one morning. She helped me with this. She helped write the narrative. I told her, if we continue never to articulate and write the history and tell it, as our Oak and me used to say, and tell it, they will continue to be in the mindset that everything is okay. And the reason you all don't have nothing is because you don't want nothing. You all are lazy. You don't want to work. You're not as smart as we are. Well, I'm here to tell you that when the first time I bought reparations to general government, nobody said a word. Nobody commented a word. And the press called me and they said, were you shocked? I said, sometimes, like in slavery times, Black folk can't speak when they want to speak. They got to think about it. Is it time for me to speak? Well, it was time for me to speak because, like I told you, I'll be 67 next week. I've lived long enough. I've done enough. I went to segregated high schools all my life, except my senior year when the feds came in and forced Forsyth County to desegregate. I'd never been to white schools. I'd never even been around white people. But I learned to survive. Like I said, I learned quickly. And I need you all support. support on this reparations, just like my LGBTQ community got together to, well, we've been working on it, but got together and emails, texts, articles, letters to the press about the non-discrimination order. Attorney Red knows about that as well. They were over 500 of them that were engaged, that can be documented. More than any city in North Carolina that has moved forward on the non-discrimination ordinance. We're all in it too, Black folk, brown folk, everybody, po folk, it don't matter. But I need you to get engaged. This push is not just here in North Carolina, it's coming from the federal level with House Bill 40, which stands for, as John Lewis said, 40 acres and a mule, what they never paid us. You just think exponentially, financially, if they had given us our 40 acres and a mule, you and I might not be sitting here talking to y'all. I'd probably be owning my own corporation. Hello. But you have to think in terms of what you want to leave as a legacy in doing the work. Like I said, this work I do is hard. The work you do is hard. But it'll be coming back again, if not next month, month after. And I really would truly love, as you would say, love some support on this. A lot of the things that I do and others in these positions, we don't get much support. We know you're busy and everything. But every now and then, a little help doesn't hurt me as to knowing I'm going to do what I do. But occasionally I'd like to know that people can tell me, Dee Dee, you're doing the right thing. And that's what I was told when I got this email that they had listened to the meeting last Monday. So the work continues. Affordable housing and poverty, it hits, and education, it hits us more than anybody. Sorry.
Please, no apologies, because basically this is what I get the opportunity and the privilege to preach every day, is about accountability. And accountability looks different in different ways. But when we talk about political accountability, we are quick to tell our politicians what they're doing wrong. But we're not quick to jump in and go to bat for the ones that are doing right and doing what they need to do, or standing up and attending a city council meeting. They virtual, y'all. They're pretty easy to go to right now. Or going to our county commissioner meetings, or going to our school board meetings, or things of that nature. We don't do that because, again, we don't have that kind of time. But you expect the time of our political leaders to be able to make these decisions, and then when they don't decide in our favor, then we're all upset. So I look at it from both sides. I look at how it looks from both sides of the spectrum. When we talk about our Black community and we talk about generational wealth, we talk about streams of income. We talk about, things that are happening now that, history was erased, and a lot of times it was erased not due to our fault or anything of that nature. It was erased because we were becoming too great. Those are the things we have to look at, at how great we have all been in our past, how great we all are right now, and what we can actually do in our greatness, especially as women. I mean, we walk, talk, speak the greatness all the time. We are those queens that do just that. When we talk about, the statues and the pictures that are hanging in buildings, and we're talking about knocking these statues down. Well, we talk about the statues. Let's talk about these pictures too. Let's take those down too. We talk about the things that, when we talk about our history in our schools, and we talk about it not being taught, our history not being taught. And if it is taught, it's so watered down that you don't understand, that we were even in the picture. We talk about all of those different things, but what are we doing to play a part in that? One of the things that I preach about, especially with our HBCUs, is that what we don't realize is that our cities and counties get tons and tons and tons of money using our name, but none of it gets to our communities or our school. None of it. They are quick to say, oh, we got an HBCU in Forsyth County or in Winston-Salem. They are quick to say that, but none of that gets to us. But if we are sitting at that table when they're having those discussions in those committee meetings, and we are sitting at that table in city council or commissioner or whatever, we have a say in that. It's called public forum. You're allowed to speak. So if you're going to use me, you're going to use me to my advantage, not to your advantage. If you're going to use me, you're going to put those dollars back in my school, in my community, in the communities that you're trying to gentrify right now. You're going to put our people in those houses that you're building right now. That's what we have to do, and we have to demand as political, not just political leaders, but as voters, as people, as Black women, as the people that do this work on a day-to-day basis. We have to build up our next generation to do that. I would love to see, and at every single committee in Forsyth County, that there is a young person from Winston-Salem State sitting on that committee. That can happen. I would love to see a young person from these HBCUs sitting on city council. That can happen. I would love to see a mayor from an HBCU. That can happen. But a lot of times we don't realize it can happen. We set ourselves apart from it because, again, a lot of times we don't have time. But we make time for what we want to make time for. So we got to make time for this. We got to make time for our future. We got to make time for our communities and for what we want to do in these communities. If we want more things happening, if we want more money in our schools, if we want more funding in our neighborhoods, if we want better housing, we want better health care, if we want COVID-19 vaccines in our communities, we have to demand that. And we have the right to demand that. We absolutely do. Because why we vote those people into office? Y'all, what you don't realize is part of your check go to them. So demand a receipt on your investment. I'm just saying.
And I'm just saying, I have one more thing to say. You know what I just said about know your worth? Elected officials in Winston-Salem don't get paid that much. Some of y'all know that. We only got a raise. As you say, went and championed that cause, went and got data from about other cities much smaller than Winston, because I know my worth. I'm bringing you business concepts, benchmarks, metrics, best practices, and you don't want, and I'm giving you all, you want me to give you all my time? I love what I do, but you need, in order for younger people to get in the game, you gotta make this job what it's worth. And that's why young people and Black folk are not at the table the way we should, because the people that are at the table are people with money, and that's white people.
Oh Lord, because I'm jotting down. I don't think y'all understand. There's something moving on this call. Like I don't know if y'all here with it, but it's something moving. And if y'all ain't taking these notes and running back to the next meeting to keep it going. This from this piece of accountability, I wrote down matriarchs, I wrote down tellers, I wrote down keeper of stories, and I wrote down land acknowledgement. Ms. Didi, that history that you went through, that you broke down so eloquently, needs to be taught in every first year experience, in every sophomore push class, and just to reiterate, when you're rising junior, before you leave my house, senior, you're gonna get it again, because that's where the accountability comes in. That's where you mobilize those HBCU students on these campuses. They need our voices in these spaces so that they can hear it. I didn't know. I walked in a point of privilege going to Grambling State University. I walked in a point of privilege when I was able to not leave that campus and then go to Houston, Tillerson, and Austin and be in a city that is 8% Black. I need y'all to sit with that. 8% Black, but not feel touched because I was at the only HBCU and the highest institution, the oldest institution of higher learning, without UT being a glimpse in the picture, was Houston Tillerson. And so being in that space, but then leaving that space and going down 35 to Texas State University, a predominantly white institution, a land grant institution, and being thrust into that environment, I didn't understand how strong and how needed, how poignant it was land acknowledgements. and taking the time to do so before any meeting, any gathering, because you don't understand how sacred the land that you step is. Making sure that you alone having that history, everyone needs to have that history. Me knowing that when I'm sitting there for, I don't care if we're coming together for brunch, if we're coming together for a student, any student activities, that's the first thing that we're going to discuss. The blood that's in the soil, the land, whose it was, who it was taken from, so you can understand that when we're convening, it's not just us in this space. And I think when we do that more and we pass the stories on, it lights the fire. It lights the fire, and then you don't have to be looking for those students on the council because they're gonna be there. You don't have to look for those students to be at the protest or to run on the ballot. They're gonna be there, and I think that's where the accountability piece comes in. Is that our universities are the petri dishes of the larger society as a whole. And we're so busy because they're HBCUs and we're fighting all these different things. We're just trying to keep the lights on. We're just trying to keep the babies going. We're trying to deal with other systemic issues. We have to key in on the hard stuff. And if we tackle it at its root, it will grow and flourish. And it's little stuff like that, those conversations hitting our first year students, letting them know the space that they have stepped in is so sacred and that it's continually, historically, and generationally been under attack. If that's not a call to action, I don't know what is.
I just want to say I actually did my freshman year FYE project on gentrification in Winston-Salem, and I actually interviewed Commissioner Fleming Elamine and the late Reverend Eversley, and it really opened my eyes because my grandfather was also a politician in Forsyth County. So I know a lot about the history and what happened in Winston-Salem, and it's kind of sad. And it needs to be taught in curriculum because it's stuff that we don't teach in schools. I should have learned it in high school. They should have been teaching it to me in high school. The bus companies, all the Black businesses. My grandma's dad had his own store. He owned a grocery store in Winston-Salem. And, just so many Black-owned businesses that failed, so many people that had to move. And that's why I just want to stay here. Like, I feel like it's my job to stay in Winston-Salem. When I go off to grad school, my goal is to always come back because I just know the rich history here and the work that my family has put in here. I have to continue it. So just investing in my community, and I have to do more. So I'm working hard to do more. I do want to be on city council. I do want to run for mayor eventually or be a commissioner. So just working hard to help my city because I love Winston-Salem so much.
I have to quickly drop in some resources because the Innovation Quarter houses much of the area, and so I should say some of the area at least that our Mayor Pro Tem is referencing. So I do definitely want to encourage people to visit innovationquarter.com /depot-street, innovationquarter.com/depot-street. There we go. And as well as for more information on what happened and what existed within the former Depot Street neighborhood. The Safe Bus Company is included, and it's based off a mural that was done by our very own Leo Rucker. The information was compiled by the legendary Cheryl Harry as well, and definitely check out Triad Cultural Arts. Cheryl has put together a new virtual experience to help you get an understanding of what has happened here in Winston-Salem. So I definitely just wanted to make sure, share those resources for people who wanted to learn more about what has happened.
All right, so it's just crazy how, and I promise you, I'm so glad that this is recorded, and I'm so glad our little meeting we had before was recorded because the conversation is so rich. And the reason I'm saying that is everything that you guys are talking about are in my notes, kind of, sort of, from that conversation. And one thing that we talked about, this right here is a platform. And I'll just have to say, because she knows me very well, Heather Davis has been around me in all levels of just my career, and how, when I started here in Winston State to now, Destiny met me when I was just starting to figure out, oh, I'm a professional. There's some more I can do. But just to give you guys just a little background, and I know we're going to get off this call, and this is a segue into letting you know there will be more. This started off as my baby project called Hip Hop is Reality. You can follow me out on Instagram, but it's private, so you might have to send me a message and maybe I'll add you. I don't know. It gets kind of creepy. But in doing it, that gave me an opportunity to actually break off and start coming up with some cool projects. So there's a lot of cool projects I was able to do. And I wanted to find ways to use hip hop as a way to communicate with, the students then in, what is it? The early, 2006 to, that wasn't that long ago, was it? Yeah, it was. 10 years ago. Let's just go there. And things started to change in music. And so I decided I need to find another way to use this platform. So there are a couple of things that I came up with, but one thing was ladies first. If you heard the song by Queen Latifah and Moni Love, this song is serious. And it's something that's been a part of my life, that song. And it continuously encourages me to know I come first in pretty much everything that I do. I need to think of myself, put myself first. And so with that, I was like, ladies first. Well, why don't I set up something where we have all women speaking on subject matter that even if a man heard it, it's not that, these women are just talking out their head. No, these are issues that and subject matter that deals with everyone. Because if we're dealing with it as a woman, you're definitely dealing with it as a man, because we're dealing with it with you. So I'm saying that to say the charge was put out. I can't remember which one of you put it out there, but looking at the legacy of ladies first. And I think a lot of what you guys have already said, especially that charge Destiny threw that charge out there. This conversation cannot stop without action. So anything that we're discussing, Dee, if you don't mind, if I share your email address with the group, and do you mind? Because drop me like, wait a minute, wait, I don't know these people. But to continue conversation and continue this. This is something that I do during Women's History Month, but our history is every day, just like Black history. If we're going to say that, then let's say it with Women's History too. And I'd love to open up this panel to not just include Black women. To be honest, it includes Black women because y'all are the ones that I know. I went to UNCG, and I get jokes about the PWI experience, but if I counted how many white women that I remember at UNCG while I was there, I cannot count on one hand. I know faces. But my Black friends, I got about 500-600. I'm never gonna forget them, especially with A&T right down the street. But this space cannot just be us. I want us to be able to hear from each other. So we're gonna continue this. We're gonna have some other, pre-game meetings where we can talk about what's the next step, what's the next conversation. And I will say that I do want to bring this back in April. And then I do want to do a session this summer at some point because we have time. We can just come here and have a conversation. But the next one is going to be more about how we see ourselves as entrepreneurs, how we see ourselves on TV, and especially within entertainment, because we all hear celebrities say, I am not a role model. And as soon as they say, I am not a role model, it's almost like that takes them away from being responsible. And so I wanted to kind of get on that because I know there's more that we can talk about with accountability, especially accountability. And so we'll get more into that and start talking more about it because there's some other women that I do want to bring in with this. I wish that shout out to what's it called, StreamYard, shout out. But I wish I could have more than 10 people on this call because there's so many more I'd like to have within this conversation. But we'll wrap this up because it is 8 o'clock. Even though we started at like 6:15, I still don't want to talk forever because we can. If you guys have any last words. Oh, sorry, Miss DD Adams, I have something to tell you. Attorney Key Reed wanted me to let you know because with the rain, she kept getting knocked out, but she said for me to please tell you that it was her absolute honor and privilege to use what you, well, let me say it out. She said, please tell Dee Dee that it was my absolute honor and privilege to use what I know in my head and my heart about the city to help tell her narrative and the narrative of many of the African-American elders. And she looks forward to working with you to do more work. So I just have to let you know that she said that. And, on this call, there's many of us that are still in the area, even though Destiny is in Philly. Let me tell you something. This woman does not stop thinking. She doesn't stop advocating. So even though she's in Philly, she's not right here in North Carolina. She is a North Carolinian low key. Okay, she has it in her. She's always in this space. But
wherever Black people be,
she is wherever Black people be. And y'all, I wish y'all could see as in her little neighborhood in Philadelphia, her and her family set up a table and was giving out all kind of hoodies and books and all this stuff to people as they walk by to go and register to vote and to vote. And she did that on her own. I mean, just using her own social media platform, she made sure that she reached out to her community. So there is no way that we can say that we are not able to reach out or help those around us. We just need a circle like Ladies First to come together and make this happen. So I want to thank you all. I am so thankful that I have met you, Miss DD Adams. And now when I see you and we see each other, I can say, hey, and I won't feel like I'm really walking up on a celebrity because I get nervous and I start sweating when I see you. Now I'm not going to feel as nervous, but, yeah. So quickly, if everyone, if you want to give your last words, everyone, shout out to everyone on Facebook. Shout out to everyone on this on YouTube who have had the opportunity to these braces, y'all, to tune in. Your comments have been very inspirational. I kept trying to drop everything that everyone was saying, but please be aware that we're gonna drop some more information out there about the next one. So that's all I'm gonna say. Everyone, if you guys can go around and say something, and then Ellie B is gonna drop us with one more piece. My favorite piece. Oh, yes. Okay. So we'll start with Danielle. I said Daniel. Sorry, Danielle, Miss Brown.
So I again, thank you so much for having me this evening. I'm definitely so excited. I hate I missed this pregame. Like I really, really hate that I missed the pregame, but I'm glad I was able to name it. So, but definitely thank you so much. Thank you ladies for all of your words of encouragement and inspiration. It was so great to be on such an amazing panel. I get to be on panels a lot of times with different folks or whatever, but ain't nothing like Black women. I'm sorry. It's just nothing like us, with being real and having the real conversation, and not watered down and not trying to figure out the correct words. And no, it's nothing like being in a space with true Black women. And I would definitely love to invite and ensure that you all are on our, we're having a We Matter listening session. We want to know what's happening in Forsyth County. We want to know how people are feeling, what's going on. We had a hard hit in 2020, not just with COVID, but the election and everything else that happened to us in 2020. But we, as Black folks, we always take those hits and we keep moving. But again, there's a lot that comes along with that. There's a lot of layers that come along with that. So we want to know what those issues are. So on Tuesday, April the 27th, we will be having a listening session. We're going to be joining forces with some of our partners, amazing partners in Winston-Salem, of course, Winston-Salem State. So we want to hear from you guys. We want to hear what you guys are thinking, what's going on, what's happening. We love our political officials, but we're asking y'all to come to listen and not listen to respond. We're asking our activists that are there to come to listen. We know our language, but we want folks to listen. We want to hear from the community, the down, dirty, gritty, whatever it is that we can hear about and know, figure out how we can work together to not just work together to fix it, but work together to maintain it. Because a lot of times we come up with temporary fix, but we still got the problem. We haven't nipped it at the root at all. So we're going to be working together to do that. So definitely going to be on a virtual platform. I dropped it in our chat. So Shirley, you don't have to share that one. So so you do have to register. So make sure you register. Don't share your registration because we want to make sure everybody's registered and can attend.
No, I just first I want to apologize for my facials because I was probably sitting over here like, but that's just code for y'all are preaching. Thank you, Shalee, for inviting me to even be considered to think about having me in the space. And thank you for being receptive and allowing for young people to actually be in this space. This is where we need to be. Thank you to all of you ladies on this panel. I just want to say that what you do, I don't want you to feel like it goes unnoticed. And I don't want you to feel like you're not impacting somebody, because you definitely just in the last 5 minutes, 50 minutes, however long, you've impacted and inspired me. I don't want you to feel like you're not making some type of influence on a regular person. Like I keep referring to it, but even with Ms. Davis, I had never had a full conversation with her, but just seeing her poise and her elegance and how she carries herself, it impacted me. With Destiny, when I had my first conversation with Destiny and how receptive and like welcoming she was to connect me with other people, just keep being amazing, because it's impacting so many people. And please, Shalee, continue. Don't stop doing this. Please do not stop doing this. This is needed. And thank you guys again.
So ditto, thank you for inviting me into the space. Thank you all for being so present in the space and engaging. Thank you for feeding my soul. Thank you so much. And ladies first, now is our time. Ashe, so it is. And I just want to say thank you all, and moving forward, I hope we all continue to do our parts in changing the world and changing the trajectory of people's lives. So bless you all.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you all. Shalee, thank you again for this opportunity. I think this may be like the second or the third one I've had the pleasure to be a part of. And each time I come away feeling just so renewed, feeling so inspired and just motivated to get out there and do the work. And I really want to thank you ladies, because you don't realize it, but one thing that you all have inspired me to do in just having this conversation about our city, the city of Winston-Salem, is to kind of like give me some definitive direction on like, yes, I do need to be here. I do need to stay here. I always questioned why I'm still in Winston. I thought I was going to get away, and I'm here for a reason, and it's a good one. And there's no other place that I should be, because if I should have been, I'd have been there already. So thank y'all for reaffirming that for me.
I'm going to go ahead and say good night. My day started very early. I had strategic planning today all day and some other meetings, but I am so grateful and thankful to be a part of this. I just want you to know, Chili and all of y'all, that call on me anytime. Share my email, find me on Facebook, DD Adams, the city's website. I want to be a part and an ancestor and a griot going forward. I have no problem sharing all of what I know, because what good is the journey if you can't share the walk? What good is it? So I just want you to know I love you. I'm going to bed, but again, be thinking about me next Friday, a week from tomorrow. I'll be 67. And God bless each and every one of you, okay?
She is so dope. She is just so dope. I am going to end on thank you, Shalee. This is an amazing platform. I am honored to even get the text call to be a part. This, I don't know if y'all seen that craze on TikTok, the little nature cereal, and folks putting the fruit together with the pomegranate and all that stuff. When Black women get together and talk like this is nature's brunch. It's food for your soul and it's spirited to the utmost. And this has been it for me. This was nature's brunch, and I needed it, and I didn't know that I needed it. So I'm grateful. I'm thankful. I'm going to end on why it's my time, and it's my time because I wish for the life that I desire, and I'm holding to that. So thank y'all, and I love y'all.
I just want to say thank you to Shalee for letting me hop on and collaborate and getting DD Adams for me. I had my fingers behind my back, my toes crossed. I was so excited when you told me you had her. Thank you so much. Like, thank you so much. It was an honor to be able to be on this panel with all of y'all. I have not met any of you before. I know Ms. Heather Davis from school, but what all of y'all have said has been so enlightening to me. Just listen to everything, especially because I think I've been familiar with is it Danielle?
Mm-hmm.
I think I met you before, but Destiny, I've never met you before, and everything you were saying was speaking to me so deeply. Just thank you for everything you said. I've been over here looking at Abria, looking at her camera because she over there looking like a model. Just beautiful. All of y'all are beautiful. Like, I just really appreciated this experience.
Yeah, it has truly been as pleasurable as I knew it would be, and enriching to be here with you all, especially as a proud seed and bloom of the East Ward. I'm born here, raised here, work here, still live here. I'm really happy to see all of you all who have stayed in Winston-Salem and contributed. Thank you for that. Sincerely, thank you. And to the theme of it's our time, I just want everyone to know, especially to all of the Black women who are listening on this call, it's our time because it has always been. It has always been. And don't let anybody ever tell you differently. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and close out with a piece that I feel like is just, right on time. It's always been our time. We are queening. You see, I'm queening. Regardless of what the world says, I'm queening. In every sense of what the verb says, and I'll admit that even I sometimes forget just who I am and all the responsibility that queening comes with, but yet and still, I'm queening. And for as long as I have breath in these lungs, I will continue serving up these bars that uplift my sisters because we are all queens. Goddesses just waiting to be unleashed, not of this world, but creators of our world, manifestors of our destiny, intuitive beings. Our gifts a blessing. When we teach, don't miss this lesson. When we teach, we prophesize. No hidden message, just catch these vibes and vibrate higher. I'm talking more than levitating. See, elevating's the new wave. Taking notice of your pride and commanding that bitch to behave while maintaining your pursuit. Taking notice of the dotted lines around your lane, so when it's time, your cross merge and converge with something that's truly divine. A trinity embedded deep inside. No need to try to search to find. Instead, just quiet your mind and go inside. I'm sure you'll realize that your body's just a conduit and your soul is where your royalty is embedded and inscribed. So this is for my sisters. I mean, this is for my queens. Those of you who sometimes view your melanin as an inhibitor instead of a priceless and compelling thing, not realizing that it's the very indicator of all the strength within your being, and that with it, you need no crown to declare that each and every day you're out here motherfucking queening. Thank you.
And with that, thank you so much, everyone. Again, thank you for, wait a minute, gotta breathe. Okay, thank you guys for joining us as an audience, and I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. You guys don't know how many times I've sat here and have got glossy-eyed, and I was like, not punking out. They're not gonna get me today. And really, there was something in my eye. That was not a tear. I don't know what was attacking me. The devil, no. But I thank you all. I pray that all of our dreams and all of our aspirations and all of what we've been charged with will come to light, and it will if we continue to have a circle like this, because we are mother queening, as so said. So, all right. So everybody have a good night. If you want to watch this again, it should be still on my Facebook page. And I mean, what is this? YouTube, and then also on Facebook. Again, we are Ladies First, and we thank you all for coming out. Good night,
everybody.
All right, thank you all.
Good night.
Good night.